All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're going to give everyone a couple of minutes to come on here, but I wanted to get us familiar with the Zoom paneling. So we're going to do a quick test. I'm going to ask a question, and if you'd like to participate to show us that the technology is working, that would be great. So there's a Q&A box that you should have either at the bottom of your Zoom screen or at the top. The question I'd like you to answer is, what is the biggest room in the world? If you can throw in your answers, that would be really helpful. That will just show us that you're participating and that we can see it. Again, that's the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. The question is, what's the biggest room in the world? Okay, we have the break room in our office. Someone is stumped. The White House. All right, you guys are ready for some corn right now. The biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. Oh, that's just bad. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and kick this off. I want to thank everyone for joining this webinar on account management, the next business growth frontier. This is an exciting step forward. It's probably not the right way to put it, but I'm still excited about this, to talk about account management, specifically how we're addressing this in the marketplace. And obviously, there's a lot of interest from all of you, so thank you for joining. I'm joined. My name's Janmohamed. I lead product and customer marketing and inside sales, and I'm joined by Mark Littlefield. Mark.
Hi everyone. I'm Mark Littlefield. I'm over our product development here at Inside Sales.
Perfect. So we're going to be leading the webinar today. A couple of housekeeping items before we dive into the meat of the discussion today. If you stick around until the end, we're going to send you a link to download 5 key plays or contact strategies that account managers should use to essentially stay organized and manage their different workflows. That includes a play for cross-sells and upsells, renewals, getting in touch with new accounts if you transition into a territory, building executive rapport. Mark is going to discuss and give a little bit more context on what a play is. He's going to define that for you. Stick on, we'll send that to you. I also want to point out that this is part of a launch for us. We're launching this new use case and focus around account management. So we are going to show you the product, and that's with intent. I know some of you have joined our webinars in the past. We don't always go into our product, but I wanted you to at least see how our methodology and how some of these best practices manifest themselves within the product. So you'll get something of value whether or not you have our technology, but you'll also see how we use that methodology within the technology. It would be helpful context, I think, for all of you. If you have any questions, please jump in at any time, either the Q&A box or the chat box. We'll try to answer those as best we can, and let's go ahead and get started. So what I want to start with is to address the growth problem. So InsideSales.com as a business, we essentially built our business around this notion of arming sales reps specifically with the tools they needed to be able to crush their quota. That includes account executives, ISRs, SDRs. And the reason why this is such a focus for us, or has been a focus for us, is because if you look at the data, selling is really hard. Over the past 6 years, sales attainment has actually gone down each year for the past 6 years. So it's a huge struggle for sales organizations to actually hit their numbers. And we see this actually translating itself into the account management space a little bit as well. On this next slide, what I want to show you is that one of the reasons for this is that a lot of people think of selling as just the engagement portion, but selling requires so much more than just engagement. If you think about successful organizations, what they do effectively is that they first discover the right accounts and contexts that they should be selling to. They then do a very good job of prioritizing those people, those accounts, and also the activities. And then they engage, but they engage with purpose, with intelligence, with an opinion, and their engagement is so much more effective because they're able to connect with the right people at the right times in the right ways. And the problem is that most organizations struggle with this. And what we're finding, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, the behaviors of account management teams kind of reflect the same behaviors of a lot of these sales teams. They come into a territory, they're given this handful of accounts, it's more than they can chew, They don't have a good way of, or a good methodology of discovering and prioritizing the accounts and activities or engaging effectively. So you see some of the statistics when we looked at this, not just from a sales perspective, but from a sales and an account management perspective. These reps spend a lot of their time on deals and on accounts and on people that aren't going to connect with them and convert. They're not prioritizing the right actions, the right prospects, the right customers. And they're not engaging the right people as often as they should be. So there's this three-tiered problem, all associated with building pipeline, that's no longer limited to just the sales organization. It's also the account management organization, especially those that are sales-minded. So this is what we're trying to address and sort of the problem that we're wanting to get behind. Now, the next thing I wanted to focus on was specific to account managers. I mean, you guys, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but you kind of understand what account managers are dealing with. They're given this territory of accounts that they have to manage, and their customers have very low switching costs. It's very easy for them to switch providers, whatever that service or product is that you're providing them. It's very easy to switch, and they have more options than ever. And this is part of the reason why quota attainment is down, not just for sales reps, but for account managers. In fact, we looked at a study by Gartner. And they looked at account management leaders, and they said that less than 28% of their teams, their account management teams, are actually hitting their quota of cross-sell and upsell and renewals. So we see that whole trend, that downward trend of sales attainment actually applies to account managers just as well, if not more so. All right, so we peeled back the layers. And we took a look at the behaviors of account management teams who are sales-minded, who are trying to grow their businesses just like their sales counterparts. Here are some of the things that they're facing right now. The first point, sufficient territory penetration. Account managers only touch a very small portion of their total accounts. And what we found is that they usually focus on the have a relationship with, the ones that they've met before, the ones that they know that they can connect with, but that doesn't necessarily translate into expanding the account or retaining the account.
And oftentimes, those are the accounts that are already going to renew.
Absolutely.
So it's not like those are at risk already.
Absolutely. The next point, intelligent account prioritization and coverage. So a lot of these account managers that we're seeing across the space, they have too many accounts in their territory, and it's very hard to determine which of those key accounts that they should develop. It's very hard for them to know which individuals they should spend their time selling to or interacting with. And it's very hard to track their past activities and behavior. So they don't see this historical record as effectively as they could. We'll cover that in just a moment. Point number 3, sales and marketing execution in organizations. With everything that an account manager does, it's very difficult for them to actually execute on some of the marketing campaigns that come their way. Requires too many touches, too much time. The organization that's required to do it effectively is just not in their wheelhouse. And we find that a lot of them are trying to use Excel to be able to manage these workflows, and they're just not doing a very effective job of it. Point number 4, basic account activity tracking. I alluded to this a second ago, but there's limited CRM tracking and visibility into account manager efforts. It makes it very difficult to justify the work that has been done and that they are doing. And it creates this challenge, especially during transition. So an account manager, a new rep joins the organization, or they're switching territories around, and there's no record of what they've done with those accounts in the past. Very hard to manage to the expectations that they have with those customers. And then, of course, renewals. This is one of the hot topics or struggle areas that every account manager has to manage through and navigate. Most often, this is done manually. There's no structured playbook. There's no sales strategy for most organizations to engaging customers effectively and in a thoughtful, strategic way so that they can win business back. And that's much more effective than trying to win new business. So, this is a trend. And this is something also pulled from that Gartner research study. 80% of a company's future revenue will come from 20% of existing customers. If that's not already the case with your business, as it is with ours, it will very soon be the case. So that's where the focus needs to be. And if you look at the influence that account managers increasingly have on these growth initiatives and the growth targets for an organization, I mean, sales historically has kind of bled over into both a land and expand motion, but really more and more account managers are owning that, the expand and the renewal motion as part of the growth initiative. So they hold a big chunk of the number that an organization has to manage to. So being able to arm those guys with the right tools, the right methodology, the right approaches, the right playbook is going to become increasingly important for sales organizations. So with this, I'm going to turn it over to Mark. He's going to cover sort of the logic behind intelligent cadence, the logic behind plays. He's going to explain why we structure plays the way that we do, what we're trying to accomplish with these plays, and then we'll show you how this manifests itself within the product. Again, if you have any questions, we'll try to get to those, but please ping us in the Q&A box or the chat box. And Mark, it's your turn. Take it over.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. So before we get jumping straight into the product, what is a cadence and why is it so applicable to account managers? We all know that to get a hold of people, you have to try more than once. But how do you make sure that you're consistent with your follow-up across all the different accounts that you have? Whether you're trying to renew that account or upsell that account or cross-sell that account, we have to be consistent, but we have to also be flexible. And so what we're going to demonstrate today is how we can do that with a series of different plays. What we oftentimes find when we come into an organization that is not using our application is they are trying to manage this all through Excel. Up here on the screen is basically a visualization that shows how playbooks helps account managers focus on the things that they need to get done today. It's really easy to get overwhelmed with all the various tasks that you need to do to really engage with your accounts. Playbooks is going to help you focus on just the ones that need to be done today, but each day a rep will have new things to do, and that's all handled through that cadence or through what we call a play. And those plays are multi-channel, so you're going to have phone calls, emails, interactions on LinkedIn, sending people physical goods through the mail, whatever it takes to make your engagement with an account more meaningful.
I just want to make a quick point. The reason why this is so critical to an account management function is because just like in sales, we know that there are certain best practices in the form of immediacy and persistency and contacting a certain number of times and being structured in the way that you follow up. And again, most people don't do this effectively with their own devices because their own devices include their intuition, their brain power, and they miss a lot of the structure that they could use from a technology. And the reason why this is important is because in our research, we found that reps think they make a lot more contacts than they actually do. They make 75.2% fewer contact attempts than they actually think they do. So if you think about what a rep reports verbally versus what they're actually showing within their workflow, it's a very different number, which is why these plays become so important, because it keeps them on task, on track, and make sure that they follow those best practices through the end.
That's right. And in addition to that, it also gives you a repeatable strategy for reaching out to your accounts to figure out what works and what doesn't, right? Some plays will work better for other industries than another. We need to know which cadence or which strategy is the best one. Usually you can have one strategy that works really well for a lot of accounts, but we need to identify and isolate and create what those strategies are for those account managers. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through how we do that inside of our Playbooks product. Everything I'm going to show today can either be automated or done manually. So we're talking about adding records into these cadences or enrolling them into these cadences. Just keep in mind that you as an administrator can determine how automated you want that to be. So without any further delay here, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into 3 different plays around that we see as very commonly used in account management. If you're not using these types of plays, you should be. So we're going to jump into upsell and cross-sell first, and then we'll talk about the renewal play. I'm actually going to demo upsell and cross-sell in the same walkthrough just for the sake of time, but they are slightly different in their general approaches. So with that, we're going to jump into the product and we'll show you how that works. All right, so I'm going to be demoing from Salesforce today, but this works in a handful of CRMs that we support. So let me give you the scenario. I am an account manager and I have been given a list of accounts from marketing, or maybe data intelligence has identified a list of accounts that I need to work. They've been flagged as upsell opportunities. And that can be done through a handful of ways, right? You might be using a Marketo, or you might be using the InsideSales.com Neurolytics scores. Depending on what you're using, this list has been generated for me. So I'm in my CRM. I can see the accounts that I need to work. Now, again, before having a product like Playbooks in place, I would put these into Excel and I would try to manage this by hand. and all of my work would be basically lost and couldn't be reported on. But we're going to show you how that works with playbooks. So I'm going to simply click the accounts that I want to work right now. So I'm going to go ahead and pick just a couple here. We'll grab those ones right there. And we'll click Add 6 to Playbooks. Now, Playbooks sits over here on the right on my screen. This is a Chrome extension that follows me wherever I work. So we'll go ahead and click Add 6 to Playbooks. It's just doing a quick scrub to make sure everything looks good and assigning them to the appropriate play here. So I'm going to pick which play I want to put them in. Now I've created 3 plays. We have the cross-sell play, the renewal play, and the upsell play. We're going to click and select upsell play for the purposes of this demo. Again, keep in mind that can all be automated. So while we're doing the manual way here, you could have an administrator write some rules or some logic that will automatically put these in for the rep, so the rep doesn't have to think about it.
And just a quick note, I had mentioned before we began that we're going to share with you 5 plays that account managers could use. Those are actually plays that our account managers are using, and if you are a customer, we'll send that to you. You can upload those directly within playbooks and start to use those.
All right, so we've now loaded up an account. This is one of my accounts that's eligible for an upsell. It's Atlassian, and I can see the play that they're in. We're on the first step, right, because we just barely added them into playbooks today, and it's a phone call step. The step after that is going to be an email and a social outreach step and so forth. Those are all spread out based on either the best practices that we provide or custom to your needs. So it's completely configurable. We'll talk about how that works in just a second. So we can see it's a phone call step. We can see some notes about the call, right? We're going to be calling them to offer them a new product. We can mention the product name in there, and we have some introductory pricing available. All right, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here. I'm going to go ahead and make this phone call. One of the things I love about what playbooks can do to help the account manager be more successful is it will help you identify which contact on the account is most contactable, the one you should reach out to. So in this case, Frederick, here's his phone number here, is the most contactable person on this account. So I'm going to reach out to him first. So I'll click that phone number, and then I just simply press dial to actually make the phone call. Now, a lot of the technology that Inside Sales is a pioneer with is available inside this product. If you have pre-recorded voice messages, you can leave those. We have local presence, which will display a local number to the person that you're calling, which is really useful for those accounts that you've had a hard time getting them to answer and engage with you. All right, so we press the dial button, and the call is placed. That is automatically logged down to the account inside of my CRM, so Atlassian, and to the person that I dialed. So there's a big history of all the people that I've engaged with at this account. What are the actions I am taking to really upsell this particular account? Now, there's additional data that we push in that administrators can use to run reports around what cadences or what plays are accounts in, what stage are they in, what's the status, who's working it. That's all available to you inside of your CRM for reporting. All right. So what I've shown so far is that we've enrolled an account into a play, and we now can make those phone calls. Let me show you another example on renewal plays. So all of us as account managers are responsible for renewing. We need to have a different play than the upsell play for renewal. So this play is automatically enrolling records based on their renewal date. So in this case, what I've done is I've created a play that we essentially automatically enroll this account into playbooks 90 days prior to the renewal date. Because again, we want to reach out to them. So in this case, we're starting with an email, and we're going to be following that up with a phone call shortly thereafter. And again, additional steps down the road as we try to engage with this particular account to get them to renew. Inside Sales has automatically selected the best contact for us to be working at this particular account, and I can see the template. Now, what I love about playbooks is that we want to help encourage reps to do the right things, but we still give reps some flexibility, right? We don't want to force them to send specific emails or force them to say specific scripts on phone calls. We want them to manage those accounts the best way they know how. So although this email is already in there, I can customize it as I want to. If this is a particularly meaningful account, maybe I'll insert a video, a personalized video to this particular account to Matt to explain, the renewal's coming up. This is all the things we've done together over the last year. Let's talk about signing that additional contract. I can choose different templates. I can attach a contract or a proposal. I love this feature because I can attach that, but I also know when they actually open that email. But beyond that, I know when they're actually looking at that attached file that I've put onto that email. So I have complete visibility into how engaged my account really is with the renewal and the information that I'm sending them. It's one thing to send someone a lot of emails or make a lot of phone calls. It's a whole nother ball game to know they really are interested. It gives you a lot of leverage back in the renewal process. So in this case, we have this template here, and we're going to go ahead and offer him a discount if he renews 60 days before his contract expires. We'll go ahead and select 30 days off his first month on renewal. And we'll go ahead and send that email. But while that email is being sent, it moves me on to the next task. Here, I'm going to send that email. I'm also going to make that phone call. So I'll go down here, I'll choose the phone number, and I'll press dial. Again, all that's going to be logged automatically into your CRM. So you have complete visibility into what your account managers are doing. Like Aaron mentioned earlier, I think in a lot of organizations, we go and we see that there's really no visibility into what account managers do, right? They're obviously working, and they're probably doing the best they can, but there's no visibility. No one knows how many phone calls are they making, how many emails are they sending. Play help you gain that visibility.
A couple of quick points that I want to make as well. I like how on the screen right now, this renewal play starts with an email. Not every play is structured in the exact same way, but we did a study of cadences. We found that email, that a cadence with an email that begins with an email is 7.4% more effective than starting with a call. That's not a huge jump, but it's just one of those things that we kind of incorporate into our methodology, is that there's some steps or some plays that ought to start with an email or a LinkedIn message or some other activity that you can program. Then the reps don't have to think about these kinds of things. They don't have to think about all these best practices. They just automatically operationalize on them. The other thing I want to point out, and I don't think that this can be overstated, is the point about organization and structure. In another study, we found that the average cadence is believed to consist of about 5 calls, 5 emails, and 3.5 voicemails. So when you ask a rep, hey, how often do you think you're following up with these key points of contact? What's your cadence with them? On average, that's what they told us: 5 calls, 5 emails, 3.4 voicemails. When we actually looked at the data and we started tracking this for some of our customers, actually quite a few of our customers, we found that the average cadence actually consists of just over 2 calls, less than 1 emails, and less than 1 voicemails. So the number of attempts, the number of contacts that they're trying to make with these key points of contact that they need to engage with is pretty low. Now, these are pretty compelling statistics. It's part of the methodology behind the plays that we've created. One other thing that, Mark, I'd like you to show the audience, something that came up recently, is we've seen increasingly that a lot of our customers who have account management teams using our technology are creating plays not just for cross-sells and upsells, but in one instance, just to stay in touch with their customers on a quarterly basis. So they actually create plays. They auto-enroll every one of their customers into these plays to make sure that their reps are at least having 1 touch per quarter. Now, if it were me, I would recommend a more frequent cadence. But this is a good point, that you can actually build that rule into playbooks where the play actually auto-enrolls people each quarter so that you ensure that your reps connect with everyone. Can you show us how you would do that within the tool?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of to your point just a minute ago, we want to reach out to everyone every quarter, but we can do better than that, right? The problem is when you're managing your cadence through Excel or through other ways, it's too much to juggle, right? You got to remember, okay, I got to make a phone call and then schedule out for 3 months because I don't have enough time to engage more frequently with those accounts. You don't want to wait till the end of a quarter to know that an account is going to cancel. You want to hit that account early on to identify problems so you can resolve those problems way before cancellation is even being mentioned.
That's a really good point. One of the plays that we're going to share with you at the end of the webinar is a 90-day out renewal play. It is not a best practice to start the conversation with customers 30 days out or 2 weeks out. And that's what most account managers and reps do. It is best practice at least 3 months, you're beginning to have those conversations. Now, hopefully most organizations are building relationships over time, that they don't go silent and then 3 months out they start a relationship. Hopefully it's ongoing. But in an instance like the one that we've identified, where a rep comes in and they take over a territory and there's not been the smooth, warm transition from one rep to the next, and they've got a lot that they have to power through, having at least a 3-month window to begin that cadence is pretty important. But in this instance, we're just going to see how you build a play to connect on a quarterly or a monthly basis. And then you'll see at the end that 90-day out renewal play.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to expand out the play editor, and I'll show you how easy it is to really create that cadence that you just talked about. So we'll go ahead and click create new here, and we'll just give it a frequent account touch. All right. So that's the name of the play that we have here. And then we're going to actually start that with an email. Because we know that makes a big difference on getting a hold of people as starting with an email. And we'll go ahead and write that quick email. Now, for the purposes of the demo, we're just going to scream through here on the content. We obviously want to spend a little bit more time crafting that email, but so I'll go ahead and just write that body really quick. Body of the email goes here, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then inside sales, Playbook is going to ask, okay, how long do you want to wait till the next task is due? Now, in this case, what we're going to do is that email, it's going to be really easy to send, right? So we're going to have a phone call due 2 days later. So we're going to be a little more aggressive than simply calling them or emailing them once a quarter. So go ahead and make a phone call, just following up to see how the account is doing. That's going to be displayed to a rep when they get to the steps that kind of have a little bit of context. So now we're going to do those. We're going to wait 30 days. And then we're going to do the next thing. So just really quick, just kind of recap. The first thing we're going to do when someone's enrolled in this play, either automatically or manually, I'm going to go ahead and send them an email. We're going to wait 2 days. We're going to make that phone call really quick. We're going to wait 30 days. But this time what we're going to do is we're going to send another email. We'll go ahead and say just following up. Texts. So the email goes right here. But this time we're going to send it automatically. So one of the things that Playbooks is going to do for your reps is, yeah, you're going to need to make more phone calls and you need to do these emails. We can automate a lot of that. So when we talk about account managers not having enough time to reach out more than once a quarter, using Playbooks, you can do just that. So we're going to actually send this automatically. The rep doesn't have to even worry about it. It's just kind of trickling out to that account to keep that account warm, to know, just so that account feels like the account manager is really invested in their success. So we're going to have it sent automatically using Neural Send, which is going to send it using our predictive algorithms to send it at the optimal time. We'll go ahead and save that. Now, you can kind of just repeat this process. Okay, the next one we're going to have is 30 days out again, but this time we're going to do it, we're going to have to be social on our reaching out. So we're going to reach out on LinkedIn. I love the other step because the other step gives you a lot of flexibility in what you want to do. In this case, we're going to do a LinkedIn in-mail message. What some of our account managers have done is they've created plays that will send swag in the mail. So one of the most common or most popular swag offerings that we have is actually socks, believe it or not. Love the socks. They're going to create a step in this to say, let's send them some socks, or let's send the executives a gift during the Christmas season. So it's pretty flexible in how you want to set it up. It's really easy. At this point, I've created this play now. It's done. I'm finished. All I have to do is just save it. And then I can now use this play and enroll my accounts into that play. And I don't have to worry about when do I reach out to that account again. It's automatically taken care of for me.
The productivity alone from that is pretty astounding. So, guys, hopefully some of this was helpful for you. We wanted to show you, like I said, our methodology, but how it manifests itself within the technology. For those of you who have stayed around, I want to make sure that you have access to that document that I referenced, that one pager that shows 5 plays that our account managers are using for different scenarios. So we're going to post that in the chat box right now. Take a look at that. The other thing, while we're getting that loaded up for you to be able to copy and paste into your URL to download, we have a virtual sales summit coming up. Really big event. Several thousand people are going to be attending that. A lot of great guest speakers, panelists, thought leaders, a lot of best practices shared, research. That's going to be a great event for anyone sales, account management minded. There's a lot of good content there. We'll send a link out to you if you have any interest in registering for that. Otherwise, Mark and I are going to stay on the line and answer any questions you have over the next 5 minutes or so. And thank you so much for joining.
So one of the questions that's being asked is who typically creates these plays? And one of the great things about Playbooks is that there's a lot of flexibility around that. So you can decide who can create plays and who can't. I'll give you an example. One of our customers, they've chosen to have their most senior reps. They allow them to create any plays they'd like. Now there's some vetting that's involved in that, but for the most part, they can create custom plays as needed. Whereas you take your more junior reps and you kind of restrict that a little bit more. You give them a set of plays, because those junior reps, they gotta be able to hit the ground running really quick, and you don't want to spend a lot of ramp time. And playbooks is a great way to reduce that overall ramp. Yeah, one of the questions that we have is, what extension are you using to create the plays? So the extension that we've shown here today is the Playbooks product. So that's an InsideSales.com product that is all around intelligent cadence, and it's available in Chrome. If you're interested in it, we'd be happy to set up some time to walk you through in a little bit more detail. There's one question on reporting. I think it would be worth answering. So our philosophy and into your CRM so that you can have a central place to run all of your reports. We realize you spend a lot of money you've invested a lot of money in your CRM. And so we want to push as much of the data as we have around who's in what play and which play is most successful and who's sending emails and who's making phone calls and team comparisons, things like that. We push all of that into your CRM so that you have that visibility and you can combine it with your CRM data, like your Marketo email interaction data or your industry data. It's all in one central spot. A question that was asked is, how can we get the Cadence files itself? So one of the benefits, if you're an InsideSales.com Playbooks customer, we will make the actual Playbooks files accessible to you. So you just have to import them and maybe customize them a little bit to your needs. If you're not an InsideSales.com customer, we are going to be providing out that PDF document. I think it's already being sent out right now. That has an explanation, but you'd have to create that obviously in your own system. There's a question on doing face-to-face sales calls. So I would say that there's a couple different ways of looking at that. Inside sales is going to help you make phone calls. We've been in the phone call business for over 15 years. So we know phone calls really well. We know how to make sure that there's good call quality. We have a very good international presence for telephony. Sales calls are definitely essential, and you want to sprinkle those in throughout the plays that you create. In terms of like doing face-to-face meetings, you can use plays for that as well, right? So you can create a cadence that has a other step of, hey, let's schedule time to go on site. So it's pretty flexible on how you want to do that. Some customers go really aggressive with phone calls. Some go really aggressive with emails. It kind of just depends on your individual circumstances, which approach is best. And we can help you we can coach you on that and use our data science to help come to the right conclusion on what is best for you. Yeah, there's a question around reporting in playbooks. So we're going to push in all that data into your CRM, and that's going to be both phone call data and email data. Depending on which CRM you're using, there are some differences. I'll give you the rundown from Salesforce. So in Salesforce, we're going to push in if a play was successful, which template was used, what's the open rate on a given template. You can get even more granular if you want. You could go down to the level and say, on which play, which step is leading to the highest rate of success. We also have available to our customers what we call our neural insights reports, which shows less around like who is working and like roughly like which plays are working better than other. It'll show you how our analytics helps you sell more. So that's to kind of maybe to back up, there's the data that we push into Salesforce. It's going to show you who's doing what and what's working loosely. But if you want to go a little bit further using our data science, we can provide a host of reports that will show you how data science and how our scoring mechanisms are helping you sell more and helping you prioritize your records.
For those of you that are still on, it looks like we have quite a few. So thanks for your continued interest. We've now posted into the chat box a link to a number of those reports. So there's a link to the Virtual Sales Summit to register. There's also 2 other reports. We sent you one best practices for Cadence report. That was a big study that we did not too long ago. There's some really good detail and insight into how sales cadences should look. And then the other report that, or the downloadable document that I referenced at the very beginning, 5 plays that account managers can use. So take a look at that in the chat box. It's being posted again just for your reference. And feel free to download that. Let us know if you have any questions about that. All right, guys, it looks like the questions have stopped coming in. Thank you so much for your participation. Hopefully this was useful. Again, any questions, let Mark Littlefield or myself, Aaron Janmohamed, know. We'd be happy to put you in touch with the right people or provide answers. Otherwise, happy selling.